Our brains operate in a certain way. Our brains have a process that they go through called instinctive elaboration. That's a big word, big term. And all it simply means is that whenever you ask a question, the brain can't help but try to answer it. Our brains do not like open loops. So anytime I ask a question, immediately your brain is like, it's trying to find the connection. It's looking, did I experience that? Do I want to experience that? Did it hurt? Did I like it? Do I want to like that? Do I want to have that happen again? So if I meet somebody, and I'm not just asking like, what's your name? I want to ask meaty and meaningful questions.
Hi there, welcome to Real Life in Real Estate. I'm Mark Peebles, here to help you live your best life and achieve ultimate success. And today we have a very, very special guest. I believe that your life is going to be made better today because of the words that he's going to speak to us. And I do specifically say the words that he is going to speak to us because he is not just a great communicator, but a communication expert. I first heard him at a conference last year and was just blown away, took pages and pages of notes. And I've been very excited to be able to have him on the show to help you be a better communicator. He is the host of a podcast and a live Monday morning show on YouTube called Mind Shift Monday. And then he is the owner of Kennetik Kommunications. His name is Robert Kennedy III, RK3. Welcome to the show.
Come on, brother. Let's go.
Hey, we're having a party here.
All right, cool.
Tell you what.
Hey, man, we got to make an entrance, dude.
I just want to say this is the vibe that Robert brings with him everywhere he goes. And he brings his party vibe. If you ever watch his Mind Shift Monday, he does it live. And I've never seen, I usually watch it when I'm at the Y. I'm walking on the treadmill and I'm watching him just get down in his studio on a Monday morning, getting you fired up for the week. Robert, I'm so glad you're on the show.
Thank you, man. Listen, wouldn't it be great if everywhere you went, ooh, yeah, did you see my guy? Wouldn't it be great if everywhere you went, you just had like a band or theme music coming in? Wouldn't the world be just so much better if you come in the room and it's like, boop, 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 and you had like a band, a New Orleans tuba, whatever it was? That would be so phenomenal, man.
Yeah, and that's how you are, man. You bring the party with you. You bring the theme music with you for sure.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. So glad to be here, Mark.
I'm so glad you're here. And I want to today, I really feel like what agents can walk away with is how to be better, more effective communicators. And that's one of the things that I have loved about you is you just have a way with your words that draws me in. It hooks me so much from the first time I heard you speak, and you teach others how to do that. Mm-hmm. And so let's talk about how we got here today. Obviously, you're having impact on agents across the real estate industry. But how did we get here? What's your background, and how did you get to the place where you've started Kennetik Kommunications today?
Man, that is a long and like left-right diagonal story. I'll give you the short version. Out of college, I was in the mental health space for about 3 years, and that prepared me really good for my next job as a 7th grade teacher. But there we go. All right, I taught 7th grade for a year. I taught 7th grade for a year, lasted a year. Then I went into high school, taught physics and biology for a couple of years. While I was doing that, or before I did that, I did radio. I was an intern for a news anchor at an AM radio station for a little bit. And so that kind of sparked this love of radio and communication and podcasting and that type of stuff. Oh, I started 2 businesses while I was teaching: an online music promotions portal and a web development company. After I did that, I was teaching online for a university, and they fired me. No, I'm playing. They let me go. And so I started to do some real estate, dude. Like 2004, I got my real estate license in Massachusetts, and I was an agent there until the thing happened in 2008.
When we remember the thing.
Everything just like busted and blew up, and And so I moved from Massachusetts to the state of Maryland, started an instructional design company where I was developing courses for corporations, and made some bad decisions, blew that company up. And then I decided to start training. So I started to do leadership and communication training. And ultimately, here's where we are today at Kennetik Kommunications, which, by the way, the name Kennetik Communications is kind of a amalgam of my last name, Kennedy, and the word kinetic from when I was teaching physics. So kinetic energy is the energy of movement.
Oh,
and so
very good.
I combined the kinetic with Kennedy, and we got smash.
There we go.
Kennetik Communications.
You put it all together. That's awesome.
Yes.
Now, no relation to Robert Kennedy. No, never mind.
Dude, I mean, I lived in Massachusetts. I went up to the compound and knocked on the door, and they were like, I just saw guns. Like, no, I'm playing.
What part of Massachusetts are you in?
I lived in Worcester for about 10 years.
Okay. Worcester.
Yeah. Worcester.
Worcester. Yeah, I know. I knew some people from Worcester at one point. So
yeah.
Awesome. Okay, so let's talk about communication. I mean, we're in the age of AI, drip campaigns. We are, in the age where people want to limit communication directly as much as possible. But I believe that you and I are on the same page that our ability to communicate when we get face to face is absolutely critical. So, talk to me about how, as an agent, I can be a better communicator.
Well, so not just in the space of real estate, but in many industries, people are shaped, or they what's the word I want to use? Data is kind of where they start, right? Where we want to sell, and we believe that in order to sell, we need to give people the information. Yep. We need to tell them the price. If I look at how most agents, or a lot of agents, list homes, they talk about the number of bedrooms. They talk about the number of bathrooms and the size of the yard and the square footage of the house, and maybe the style of the home. It's a colonial, it's a Tudor, it's a rancher, it's a Victorian. They speak about those things. If I look at a lot of agents on social media, here's what they do. They say, hey, my name's Robert. I'm with ABC Realty. I just sold another listing at 4929 Main Street. And they're just giving people information. Yeah. Nobody cares.
Yeah.
People don't care about information. Here's what people care about. Themselves.
Yeah.
They care about what's going on in their world, what challenges they're having, what meal they need to cook for the kids that day, what meal they want to have. Is there oil in the car? Is there gas in the, did I plug in the Tesla? If you got one of those, they care about what's happening in their world at that point. So as an agent, how do I connect with that? I've got to figure out how to connect with what's happening in their world. And here's a cheat code. Here is a cheat code. If you're a presenter, if you're a leader, if you're an agent, one of the best ways to get people's attention and to connect with people. Are y'all ready for this?
I'm getting ready to take a note. So
this is like top secret information that I'm about to reveal to y'all. Here it is. Ask them a question.
That's so good.
Ask them a question. So here's the science behind this. Our brains operate in a certain way. Our brains have a process that they go through called instinctive elaboration. That's a big word, big term. And all it simply means is that whenever you ask a question, the brain can't help but try to answer it. Our brains do not like open loops. And so anytime I ask a question, immediately your brain is like, it's trying to find the connection. It's looking, did I experience that? Do I want to experience that? Did it hurt? Did I like it? Do I want to like that? Do I want to have that happen again? So if I meet somebody, and I'm not just asking like, what's your name? I want to ask meaty and meaningful questions. Hey, how did you feel when all of that snow and ice felt last week?
Mm-hmm.
Right? And everybody at that point is like, oh my gosh, yes, I was trapped in the house. our town stinks at ice removal.
Yeah, right.
So there's you got to create connection with people, and all of us do this naturally, right? We know how to do this. But for some reason, when we are when we're told we need to do it, we start to throw data at people because we think that's how we're supposed to sell. But this is a relationship business.
Yeah. Yeah, that's good. One thing that you did there, even leading us into that, and I want you to elaborate on this because I think I've heard you talk about this before, but you did something that caused me to lean in, caused me to grab my pen because I knew I needed to take a note. And I think agents need to hear this.
Yeah.
Talk about drawing people in before asking the question, because you just did it there. You said, I'm going to give you something top secret. I'm going to give you a cheat code. Are you ready for it? And I leaned into that. How can agents use that?
Well, it's, again, going back to the concept of our brains don't like open loops. So if I set something up, if I ask a question, people want the answer to it. If I want to give them some information, I want to set it up with some curiosity inside of that. And I might simply say, that doesn't always have to be a question. I might say, you know what? I hate bad weather. Let me give you an example. So when I say, let me give you an example, you're kind of like, okay, what's next? Let me hear what's next. Right? So I'll give another example. I was sitting in my living room in the state of Massachusetts when I lived there, and I'm sitting there just watching TV, and the doorbell rings, ding dong. So I go over to the window by my door, and I kind of pull the curtain aside, and I peek outside. So when I look out there, I see this dude standing in my driveway, and he's got a big rectangular display board with some little squares on it. I open the door and I say, hey, he says, my name's Mark. Coincidentally, he says, my name's Mark.
Great name.
He says, my name's Mark, and I'm selling carpet. I've got carpets here. Would you like to feel the carpet? So I go outside and I'm feeling the carpet. He says, yeah, I've got Berber. I've got low pile, high pile, Gomer pile. I know how old you are if you got that reference. All right.
Yep. I got all the piles. I totally got it. Now there's probably some young people going, I don't know what he's talking about. I've never heard of Gomer pile. Gomer pile carpet.
So he says, I've got these different types of carpet. Do you want to touch them? And so I touch the carpet, and after a few minutes of doing this bantering back and forth for 2 or 3 minutes, my door was open. He looks inside and he sees that I've got hardwood. And he says, oh, you got hardwood floors. All right. Thank you for your time. And he packs up his stuff and he leaves. I'm like, okay. Why'd you do that?
Yeah.
So that's what happened. He was looking at or leaning into the product immediately. He didn't ask me any questions. He came and his first thing was, want to buy a house, want to sell your house, which a lot of agents do when they make the phone calls.
Right.
What could he have done differently? He could have come over to my house, rang my doorbell, ding dong. And when I go out there, he could have said, hey, my name's Mark. Listen, I was just across the street at your neighbor Judy's house, and we were talking about how much she hates her heating bill because it's oil, and oil's like super expensive. I noticed that you have an oil tank out front here. What do you think about your heating bill? And I would have said, oh my gosh, my heating bill sucks. I don't like it. I hate. So when we are at that place, we've created connection now.
Yep.
He knows a little bit about me. He knows he's got some emotion out of me because I'm not just like, my heating bill is okay. No, I've got some emotion that I'm sharing at that point. So when he's got that emotion out of me, now he can say, well, yeah, I noticed that you've got hardwood on the inside. What if I could tell you about a way to save some money using area rugs or something similar? I've got carpet.
Yeah.
Right. So he's walked through that process with me. He's created some anticipation. And then he's like, okay, what if I could? Ding, question coming. brain is saying, okay, what do you mean? What's next? It's starting to look for those connections.
Yeah.
Right. So as for agents, understanding what people's problems are, understanding how to connect with them. And if you don't have another question to ask, starting with something like, what if I could tell you about something that would make life better for you?
So I'm going to put you on the spot a little bit.
Yep.
I walk into a listing appointment. Okay. Because I'm guessing that when I walk into a listing appointment, of course, I've got an appointment. I didn't just show up to their door like the other Mark did. No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah.
But I walk in. How do I begin to build that emotion in them and get them leaning in from the beginning of that appointment? And then when I sit down with them.
Yeah. Well, you can't start right as you get there.
Okay.
You've got to observe stuff before you get there. You're driving down their street. What do you see? What do you notice about the neighborhood? Is it winter? Is it autumn? Is the street short? Is there a cul-de-sac at the end of the street? Are there cars parked tightly on two sides, so much so that you can't really get through properly with your car without freaking out about whether your side mirrors are going to be knocked off? You get into what do you notice about the house itself? So if there are things that you're noticing, then you can start a conversation by saying, hey, listen, man, I drove into this neighborhood and it's a beautiful neighborhood. I wonder why some of these people didn't park their cars in the driveway because it felt kind of tight to me. Do you ever feel like that? And then, oh my gosh, I wish these doggone people in my neighborhood.
Yeah.
So you've got to be observant about things that may be mundane in life to most people. But as you're observing them and you're feeling a little bit of an emotion about them, that might be an indicator, especially if you're in a new situation. If you're coming into a neighborhood, it might be an indicator of what they're experiencing as well. And you can just ask about that. And that's a place to start. Okay.
And then I sit down with them at the table. Maybe we've done the tour of the house, right? And I'm going to sit down with the table. Now's the time where I'm going to pull out my iPad and I'm going to sell myself.
Yep.
I think you'd probably have a better way though.
Well, observations, start asking questions. What would you say is the best thing about living in this neighborhood? Cool. They're giving you some information. What have you most enjoyed about your time here? Okay, they're giving you all, what would you start asking about when I used to live in a neighborhood, there was in a development, there was a party that they would have every summer and it would rotate between different people's homes. So, if they'd ask me that question, my response is going to be like, yeah, every summer they got a party here. That's like a staple of this neighborhood. And typically it's pretty quiet, but we get pretty loud that day because everybody's there. Right. So you're starting to ask questions about them and what they loved. And then you can even get to the point where, okay, we just talked about what you love. If there was one thing that you could change about the neighborhood, what would that be? And they're giving you some stories from the heart. They're telling you, they may tell you some stuff you didn't want to know, but
right.
You're getting information from them. So your job as an agent is not to sell yourself. Your job is to learn as much about them as possible and then create a space for emotion and sharing, because once you're able to create space for emotion and sharing, then you can create connection. And when you can create connection, you lay the groundwork for trust. Right. And if people can trust you, you don't have to sell yourself. You can say a couple of things. Yeah, you know what? I'm so glad that you shared all of that information with me. And here's how you might sprinkle some stuff about yourself. And thank you for sharing all of that. I mean, over the last 10 years, as I've been selling a lot of different houses in the area, I've only come across 2 stories that were similar to the one that you just shared with me. And I love that you took the time to share it with me.
Connection.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
Connection.
Yeah. But you're building in a little bit of credibility inside of it because you kind of planted that seed. Yeah. I'm not a new person. I'm not a newbie. I've been doing this for a little bit, and I've had some success. So I can have that success with you too. But first and foremost, let's build a relationship.
I love it. So we start with questions.
Yep.
Now, and that builds that connection, right? Now we connect with them, which builds the trust.
Yep.
There is a time though where we are going to talk about ourselves, or we're going to talk about some of the things that we offer, right? They're going to want to know about that. Yep. How do we engage people with the words that we're using? How do we say things better? How are we clearer communicators in those regards? I've heard you talk about this with you talk about the vibe check.
Yeah. 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 I mean, take the temperature of the room, see where they are, see what's happening with them, see what's important to them at that moment. Because when you understand what's important to people, what they're noodling on, what's most present for them, then that gives you the opportunity to respond in a way that is super relevant for them. You know, if a simple answer or a simple example might be if they're talking about the weather, oh my gosh, the heat has been so crazy in town or in our area and I just need to move somewhere cooler. Right?
Yep.
You know, you can begin to then share some solutions that you might have around that. For example, you might say, you know what? Where are you thinking about that might be cooler? They're like, okay, you know, I want to move to a northern state like Maine. Now you're saying, okay, well, you know what? I've got some connections in Maine. Would you like a referral, or would you like to know an agent in that area that I can connect you with? Right. So again, you're a solutions provider based on a question that they answered for you.
Right.
But you asked the question. You provided the groundwork. You provided the framework for them to say what is on their heart. What are they concerned about? What are they challenged by? And then you can answer that. So yeah, as agents, we can overload them with information, right? We can say, yep, home warranty information. We can give them inspector and appraisal information. We can give them all of the different closing and title companies. We can give them a bunch of stuff, and the average person is going to be like,
yeah, didn't care about it.
Right. Either they don't care about it, or it's just a lot for them at that moment because their mind wasn't focused on that.
Yeah.
Right. And so I want to pay attention to what they're talking about and then respond to that. And I can add my credentials on top of that, or I can seed my credentials or my credibility in the conversation. Did I answer your question, dude? I think I felt like I went left for a second.
No, I think we're good. I mean, it's all good conversation. There's so many. Yeah. Honestly, there's a lot of mental notes that I'm taking out of this. I've actually taken a lot of notes as you've been talking here. One of the things that you talked about when I've heard you speak in the past, you talked about flat tire statements. Do you remember talking about this? Where flat tire statements don't push the conversation forward. Right. Talk to me about that. How do I not just make flat tire statements?
Yeah. Well, so what a lot of people do is, so I'll say it this way. When my wife has an issue or she has a challenge, she'll like just now, like an hour ago, she came to my office. She says, "Hey babe, you got a moment to talk?" And so what I've learned to do is when my wife says that, I've learned to say, "Hey, do you want me to just listen, or do you want my input in the conversation?" Because back in the day, she'd say something. I'm like, "Why are you doing that? You should be," or here's how you can solve. Right. And so I'm like, okay, let me figure out what she wants. So with flat tire statements, sometimes you're just making a statement to immediately provide a fix, but then you don't ask the what's next question. You don't ask, okay, so what else is bubbling, or is that something? Is that did that complete the issue for you? You want to find out. You always want to know what's next, because remember, the brain is looking to make connections,
closed loops.
Right?
Yep.
Yeah, close the loops. right? And so you want to as much as possible find out, hey, is there anything else? Is there something else that is concerning, or is there something else that, or it may not even be a concern. It might be, this was great. What are we missing? Or what opportunity can we find in this scenario? Right. And so we want to make sure that we are continuing to engage instead of just, and I know we want to feel and we want to seem authoritative and like the experts. But my goal is to really continually create connection. And the more that I ask, the more that I find out, the more that I connect, is the more that person will feed information, and it'll be a conversation. It's not just a one-way street.
Okay. So let's talk about, I've been pulling it into the listing presentation or maybe even a buyer presentation, but let's talk about what feels like one-way communication for so many agents when they are out there, and you do a ton of video work and you're very good at it. But when they're doing a video, right, there's social media, because we need to be public. We need to be in front of people. How do I engage people in such a way that opens a loop in their head when I'm creating my market, review post for my social media or covering the latest real estate news? How do I get people to open a loop that they hang on to so that I have to close it for them?
Yeah. So there are a lot of ways to do that. One way is by addressing who they are. So you might start with something like, if you've never owned a home before, you might want to hear this. Right? Because now they've said, okay, yeah, that I've not owned a home before. That's me. Okay, what is it that I want to hear? Okay, if I go back to the flat tire statements, and we use that same concept, a flat tire statement might be, "Thank you for having me," or I'm so excited to be here. But what if you start it with, "Let me begin with something that you've never heard in a presentation before."
Yeah.
Right. Or what if I told you that the next 5 minutes could change the way that you view real estate forever?
See, now,
right? And that's from a presentation standpoint.
Like now I want you to tell me, like, right. That's awesome.
Yeah. So if I'm doing social media, I got a video and I say, "Hey, home buyers, what if I told you that you could own the home of your dreams without having to spend all of your life savings?" Yeah, I want you to tell me that, Mark. I want you to tell me that.
I'm hooked,
Robert. So it's about creating a little mystery. It's about creating that open loop, as you talked about. And some of the ways that you can do that are by questions, but they're not always questions. Sometimes they're statements that trigger the brain. Here's a statement that triggers the brain. Actually, one word that triggers the brain. Imagine. Imagine what it would be like if you could open up your front door every morning and just see nothing but sunshine. Simple statement, but it hijacks the brain, because now the brain is thinking, okay, opening door. Okay, yep, I'm opening the door.
Right.
Okay, I look outside. What do I see? I see sunshine. So you've triggered the brain.
One simple word that paints the picture. You're painting a picture for them. You're creating a scene.
Yep.
That's great. So in terms of communication, obviously our target audience is agents. There's probably some small business people that listen to this show too.
Yeah.
What else? What else are we missing when it comes to being great communicators?
I love that. So you just stole my thing. What else are we missing?
I learned by watching you. I learned from the best, man.
Yeah. Well, we're talking about words, and words have been the basis of our conversation so far.
Mm-hmm.
But when we talk about great communication, some of that is also, what am I doing with my body?
Okay.
If I'm having a conversation, so imagine that we're sitting at a restaurant.
Yep.
And we are sitting across from each other at the table. And I say to you, hey, I've got something important to tell you. What am I doing with my body at that time? I'm kind of like, hey, let me tell you a secret. I'm leaning in.
That's very different. Which caused me to lean in.
Yes, that's very different than me going, hey, listen, I got something important I want to tell you.
Or like most people, hey, listen, I got something important I got to tell you. Hold on one second,
Yep.
Yeah.
Very different. Now, although my mind is saying, okay, I wonder what's important, because you're like this, you've actually created a barrier. So I'm like leaning in and butting my head on the barrier.
Yep.
And when I butt my head, that's pain. I'm like, listen, no, what he wants me to tell me is not really that important anymore. I don't like hitting my head.
Right.
As a matter of fact, they don't really seem like they're interested in telling me something important because they're doing something else.
Right.
Right. So my body language and my presence, when I say presence, I'm not only talking about executive presence, I'm talking about being present.
Okay.
Not being distracted, being focused in, like they're the only other person in the room. Right? So my body language and how I leverage or how I use that is important. You've probably heard both back in the day, the old sales techniques were like, hey, if you're trying to sell something, somebody does something, they cross their legs, and you mirror them and you cross your legs too. And and there's some truth to that, because we do have these things in our brain called mirror neurons, which when they are activated, they do create connection. Right? There's a little bit of oxytocin, which is the bonding hormone that is secreted in those moments. And so that's why the mirroring kind of works. Right? But even further than that, what is it that I can do to cause this person to cause their brain to want to start finding those patterns, or finding the end, or wanting to close those loops? And so me leaning in is an example of them saying, okay, oh, I want to know. Tell me. Give me more. Yeah.
So body language, your presence.
Yep.
What else?
Man,
I'm pulling it all from you, man.
Digging deep.
Tell you what.
Deep. Okay. So we got the words, we got the body language. What else would I share? We've got body language, we've got words, we've got
presence. You said presence.
Presence. Yep. And we've got the general that everybody knows, like eye contact, making sure that I'm focused on you. And so the other thing that I would also share is silence. Sometimes we're having conversations with people, and we all know this. They're talking and we're not listening. We're kind of thinking about what to say next.
Yep.
Right. And so as soon as they're finished, or in a lot of cases, even before they're finished, they're like here and we're like, oh, and we're over on top of it and jumping in. So sometimes when somebody says something, I might ask a question. I might say, what do you like most about this neighborhood? And they would say, you know what? I really like that the neighborhood is quiet. I might just say, yeah, I can hear how quiet it is.
Yeah, that's good. What you did, you just leaned into the silence and acknowledged the silence.
Yeah. So, sometimes your customer or your prospect, they might share something really important, or they might get vulnerable. with you. You know, my grandmother lived in this house, and so I'm, a little bit conflicted about selling it. I really, I don't want to stay here. I don't really need the money necessarily, but I don't really want to be in this area much longer. I want to get to a space where I believe I've got a few more opportunities for my business. But selling this house, which has been in my family for the last 50 years, it just feels like the wrong thing to do. And I'm not sure how to navigate that. As the agent that's there, yeah, that must be a really hard.
I mean, honestly, yeah, as the agent that's there, I'm sitting there thinking, well, should I even tell them they need like there's so much conflict going on in my head, but we need to sit in the silence for a minute.
Sit in the silence and just agree with them. Yeah, that's a tough decision. That sounds like a really hard place to be.
Yeah.
So and then in that situation, what I might ask next, I might say, well, what's your heart really feeling right now? What's your heart really telling you?
That's a good question.
If you had to line things up 1, 2, yes, I need to leave. No, I don't want to, leave. What would you do? What's your heart telling you? And then if they say, you know what, my heart right now it's kind of 50-50. I'm not sure. You might say, well, what if we explored some options that allowed both of those to be true?
Great question. Cool. Now you're really, I'm like enthralled with the conversation you're having with yourself right now.
Yeah.
It's good. It's good.
Because it's not you have to do this. It's not you're right, you're wrong. You didn't just get over it and sell the house because.
And honestly, what you just talked about is creating connection, and that connection builds to trust. Mm-hmm. I feel like I hate being called a salesman, right? Yep. All my life been around sales, and I hate being called a salesman because salesmen are there to sell something. Yep. But I've always said in this business, we have to actually care, right? If you're in this business and you don't care about people, you're probably in the wrong business.
Yeah.
And what you're doing right now, if you've truly connected with something and build trust with someone, and then they drop that bomb on you that this is a very hard decision for them to sell, and you go instantly into trying to sell why they should sell, you just blew the trust.
Yeah.
So what you're doing, this conversation you're walking me through right now, or you're walking our audience through right now, it's making me trust you more because I feel like you care about me.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's exactly it, because our job is to, what's the word I want to use? Sherpa, guide, marshal people through some of the largest decisions that they're going to make.
Yep.
In their lives, some of the most emotional decisions. When we talk about large emotional decisions, the day that you get married and the day that you have to buy or sell your first home, those are two huge decisions.
Yep, big days,
right? I mean, how many people make $500,000 or $600,000 or $800,000 decisions in their lifetime?
Right.
Not everybody gets to make those decisions. And so you've got to realize the magnitude of their decision that they're making is not at the level of the commission that you're going to get from this contract.
Right.
It is at least 5 to 10 times that amount.
Yeah. Well, and then bring in the heart of everything that you just walked through. Because as agents, we deal with those situations all the time. We deal with the emotion of, my grandmother lived here most of her life, and now I'm just going to sell the family. Like, we deal with those kind of things.
Yeah.
And not only is it a big decision, but there's a brevity, a weight to that decision. And we've got to help them make the right decision, right?
Yep. Absolutely. Absolutely. Every time. I mean, and one of the things that I would share with that is, as we look at people in their situations, Brene Brown talks a whole lot about empathy.
Yep.
Right. And she's got a lot of great videos on on that. And she's like, empathy is different than sympathy. Yeah, you know, your grandmother lived here. Sympathy is like, yeah, that I feel for you.
Mm-hmm.
Empathy is like, wow, I'm sitting on the other side of the table with you because I know what it's like to be in this seat. Right. So how can we be empathic? How can we put ourselves in people's spaces and feel like they feel what they feel with them as they walk through, and not rush them through the process. I know, yeah,
Right.
sometimes there's some people that they are chronic delayers, right?
Right.
They get freaked out, and as agents, sometimes you need to be a coach a little bit. You need to be able to, nudge them a little bit through. But that nudging is not pushing like you should. That nudging may be, okay, what if we? Let's look at these couple of options or these couple of opportunities. Okay, so today we're having a little bit of a. Today you're walking through this and it's pretty tough. What if I came back tomorrow and I shared 3 different options for how this can be a win for you? Okay, and then we can kind of look at it. So I come back tomorrow and we walk through option 1. Option 1 is don't sell, but rent and go to the other property and keep it as an investment property. Option number 2 is, and 3 are whatever they are.
Right.
But we are also we're creating a sense of not only trust but camaraderie, because I'm not alone. I'm not alone in this. Right. I don't feel like a number. I don't feel like a transaction. I feel like you're my partner in this. Like you're experiencing this with me.
Yeah, actual human being, human interaction, human care. Yeah.
Yep.
Man,
yep.
So good. We're getting so many good things out of this. I mean, I've got a ton of notes here that I've been taking as we're going, like, oh, I need to start using that. I need to lean into the silence. I'm getting a lot of good stuff out of this. Just like when I've heard you speak, I have pages of notes. Okay, so this has been really good. I'm going to ask one more time if there's anything else when it comes to communication as agents that we need to know. And if we've covered a lot of ground, then I might ask you one about marriage, because you've been successfully married, and you talked about your wife coming in, and this is real life in real estate. So anything else on being an agent communication?
Yeah.
And then how does all of this translate into our relationships with our family?
Yeah. So I'll answer the first one with the what else. I think the only what else I would add is a CTA, or call to action.
Okay, good.
Right? Because you've shared information, you've marshaled, you've walked with, you've guided, you've navigated people through, but most people want to know what to do next.
Yep.
As an agent, you've got to have either a suggestion for what to do next, or a question about, or create this scenario where we can discuss what's next. So in social media, I've got the hook, which pulls them in. Mm-hmm. Once I've gotten their attention, I can share with them the situation, the challenge, and the process. And then I want to end with a next. And that next may be, okay, yep, click this link to download the transcript of what we just talked about.
Yep.
Or it might be, hey, I'm doing a first-time home buyer seminar virtually next week, where we're going to talk about the 2 places that first-time home buyers can get funding for, whatever. It's on Tuesday. Here's the registration link. Blah blah blah. So that's a next. So even in person, what's next for them? You're at the closing table. What's next? Did the transaction just end? Did the relationship just end? Or is there a next? You know what? Listen, I'm so proud of you. I'm so happy for you. This was a great experience. Would it be okay if I followed up with you in 2 months?
Yeah.
In 60 days, or whatever it is?
I tell everyone when we get to the closing table, my classic line as we're walking out is, hey, listen, I want you to know that the transaction's done today, but you're stuck with me for life. And so anything that you need, whether it is you have an emergency with the house, you want me to do your annual review of your home value, or you even want to consult with me on what the best renovation is going to be to get the most money, the biggest return. I'm more than happy to always be your resource for that, even if it's just a good restaurant recommendation. So I want to leave them with that. We've just gone through a stressful process together. We've built a relationship. They trust me. Yeah. And this is, I harp on this all the time on this show. And that is that, 80 statistic wise, I'm pretty close. 85% of all buyers say that they'll use the same agent when they sell. And then like 85% can't remember their name in 5 years. Right.
Yeah.
And that is one of the most heartbreaking statistics, but it's because agents, they close a deal and they forget about them. They never communicate with them again and continue the relationship. I think it's a tragedy.
So here's what I want to go even a step further.
Okay.
So you say after the transaction, you say, hey, the transactions end here, but you're stuck with me for life. If you need, I would go even further and say, you know what? Today is January 31st, or today's February 4th, or whatever the date is. Here's what I love to do. I want you to think about over the next 5 weeks or the next 4 weeks, your experience. What are the things that you're experiencing? What are the things you're loving about the house? And I'd like for us to put on the calendar 30 days from now where we could just do a quick 5-minute check-in. I'll text you.
Perfect.
Right. And you have them put it on their calendar right with you so that you both expect a touch point.
Yep.
Right. You expect that touch point. You do that next one. Then you're like, hey, this was fantastic. Listen, I'm going to send you an email. I'm going to send you 2 emails that will talk about the first 90 days in your new house.
Yep.
So now they're expecting an email, and you can even go further and say, yep, I'm going to send one on the 30th and I'm going to send one on the 17th.
Yep.
Right. And then you automate that or whatever it is.
Yeah. Just make sure. Like the worst thing that you can do as an agent is make a promise and not follow through on it. Mm-hmm. One of the worst things.
Yep. Yeah. All right. So what'd you say? You want to talk marriage right now?
Yeah. So, okay. Let's help agents be. And I mean, honestly, time wise, we're going on and on. Let's make this the last question. Then I'm going to get into the series of questions I ask everyone. But now we've talked all of this stuff. Okay. So we've talked about the words, the body language, the presence, silence. Now talk to me about having a great marriage and being a great communicator. You touched on this a little bit earlier. How many years married?
This August will be 26.
26. You're a year ahead of me. In August will be 25. What's your anniversary date?
The 6th.
Okay. That's my wife's birthday. 17th is our anniversary. That's awesome, man. So how with being an expert in communication like you are, do you feel like you're an expert in communication in your marriage?
No, not all the time.
Yeah. That's the thing. It's like, I mean, your wife is probably more like,
listen. So it's kind of the whole deal. Doctors are the worst patients. And inside of a space where you've got emotional bias and buy-in, it is harder, especially when your spouse knows who you are and what your tendencies are, what you're trying to. I remember sometimes early in my marriage, where I would respond to my wife a certain way. We're walking through something and I might ask a question, and her response was like, "Why are you trying to coach me?"
Yeah.
I'm like, "Dang it, you know my tricks."
Yeah, right.
And so, it's the thing with marriage is like maybe career or like your dreams, man. You can't give up. You've got to decide that the challenge or the conflict or the negative feelings that I might be feeling in this moment are not permanent.
Yep.
They're in this moment, and I can choose to leave them in this moment or carry them with me forever and ever. And that's my choice. I I've got to make those choices daily. My wife's choice, she can make a different choice, but I can also ask her questions about what choices she's making.
Yep.
Baby, do you choose to renew this 1-year contract of marriage with me this year?
Yeah.
Baby, do you choose to be mad at me today, or what can I do to make today a better day for you?
Yeah.
For us.
I think a good question I've learned to ask is, how can I be of help to you today?
Yeah.
Just how can I help you? Because I think, especially when the kids were younger, and this, I mean, moms have a lot on their plate. There's a lot of weight to being a mom. And I think as dads, as husbands, sometimes we don't stop and say, how can I help you? So that's one of the things that I've definitely learned. Now I'm just hoping my wife doesn't listen to this podcast and go, where's that question today?
Yep.
But
yeah.
Man, I there's so many things I could talk to you about, and we're going to have to do this again, but let me go through a series of questions I ask every guest, and they're kind of off the cuff, because we want to get to know more about you. So the first one is, who has been the greatest influence on your life and career? Someone that you would say, if it weren't for this person, I probably wouldn't be here today.
That is a super tough question. And the reason that is tough is because I've gone through so many different seasons, and there have been people that have been instrumental in each season. So there's a lady named Christine Abunasser who was instrumental in the season where I was first building my e-learning company. And if it wasn't for her, I wouldn't have seen what it could look like, or, been able to sustain some things through that season. I would say my dad and my grandfather have been instrumental in how I view myself and how I operate in public. Robert the First and Robert the Second are huge in my life. So it's hard to choose one person. If I think about a business mentor, I think about Richard Branson, because I've always wondered, like, how does one person run 400 plus companies?
Crazy, isn't it? Yep.
Successfully.
Yeah.
Right. And so, it's not one, it's an amalgam of different people for different seasons.
I love it. And that's an okay answer. I mean, you actually get to answer these however you want. So, so if you could go back to your very first year, and let's talk, I don't know, we can go back to the first year of your company, or first year of being in real estate. I always want to know, like, what advice would you give the younger RK3? What would you say that you need to do to be successful?
If I could boil that down to one statement, it's no's are not personal.
That's good.
Sometimes we hesitate from asking questions or from going after some things boldly because we are scared of hearing no, because no, we've been told is rejection, or it feels like rejection. And no, it's not about you. They're just not at that place in their life. They're not at that space. And that's a them thing. That's not a you thing.
Yeah.
So you take that no, and that no is a directive about the next place that you can find the yes. There's information in that no. There's feedback in that no that gives you information or knowledge to get the yes.
That's good. Okay, so we talk about ultimate success on here, and I want to know, what does ultimate success look like for Robert Kennedy III in life?
That is but my answer for this is so probably bland and uninspiring, but it's like, to do whatever the heck I want to do, whenever the heck I want to do it.
That's good.
Like, if I want to travel today, like at 9:00, I can do that. I don't have to depend on Delta's schedule.
Yeah.
I don't have to depend on anybody else. If I want to, I just want to be able to live the life that I want to live when I want to live it. That is ultimately what I'm designing for myself and my family.
Very good. I like how you said designing, right? I love that thought, or that the concept of you live your life by design. It's not, doesn't happen on accident.
Right.
So, and I very much see that in you. Last question I'm going to ask you, do you have a daily routine? So like, are you a consistent wake up, like, and what is that routine?
I endeavor to. I have seasons in my life. Right now, 2 days ago, this past Sunday, I started 75 hard.
Okay. Yep. Actually, I kept seeing you putting it out online that you were going to be start. I say this, like putting it out online. And I was like, no joke. I had a conversation with my daughter about that because of you. And then was like, I just don't have time right now.
Well, see, and that's the thing. It's not about having time.
It's true.
Because I'm reading this book right now called 4,000 Weeks. And it's about time management for mere mortals, it says. And the whole concept is that if we're lucky, all of us have about 4,000 weeks of life, period. Right? If the oldest people in the world that lived to like 120, they had 6,000 weeks of life. But the majority of us have somewhere around 4,000 weeks of life. And if we kind of count it and we look at it, then we begin to make the most of each moment, each week of life, right? And so I've got seasons that I go through. In this season of 75 hard, I'm kind of like, okay, every day I'm getting my hard workout out of the way as early as possible in the morning, right? The last time that I did 75 hard, I started it in September and ended it the day before Thanksgiving.
Wow.
Because I wanted to be able to eat what I wanted to eat.
And then you went into 75 soft.
Right. I wanted to be indisciplined in my diet.
That's right. That's right.
Day, right. And so, I there are some people who are like, oh, perfect day. You got to get up early, 5 o'clock, be at a 5 a.m. club. And you got to do that every single day. I try to grow each day. I do my best to grow 1% daily. And there are moments where I sleep in a little bit, and on that day, it's okay.
Yeah.
Good. So, I endeavor to have a routine, and sometimes I do have a routine for that season, and then I switch to a different season where my routine shifts, or it's not as stringent for that moment.
Well, I love that. I think that's a good place to not totally call it quits, because before we go, first of all, I really appreciate you being on here, taking the time to be with us today and inspiring our audience. But where can our audience find you and follow you?
They can find almost everything about me at robertkennedy3.me. That's the easiest place to find all of my socials, everything.
Is that there. 3 or 111?
Alphanumeric 3.
Okay, 3. robertkennedy3.me.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep. They can find out everything there that we're doing. We got programs that happen regularly. As a matter of fact, soon we've got something called the Story Vault Remix that we're doing, a session where we'll have some people, we'll be sharing some prompts so that you can unlock and unpack stories from your life and how you can utilize those to interact, have conversations, and incorporate those in talks or even listing presentations.
I love it. That's awesome. And then Mind Shift Monday. What time every Monday?
Every Monday, 7:30 a.m. Eastern. We do the show at 7:30 to 8, and then at 8 o'clock we hop on a Zoom for the level up, and we unpack what we learned and give some actions.
That's awesome, man. Well, Robert Kennedy III. I should probably say that clearly. Thank you. Thank you so much for taking the time out today. And go follow Robert. He is absolutely amazing. He will inspire your life, and I believe he will help you be a better communicator. And listen, before we go, one of the things that I like to help you with is to be a better agent, to perform at your highest level. And I really want everyone to make $100,000 more this year. And that's why we created the Ultimate Success Framework 100 Days to 100K course. 33 modules of all kinds of incredible content that's going to walk you step by step into how to build a great business that's going to add $100,000 extra to your bottom line this year. You can find out more about that at itsmarkpeebles.com. Itsmarkpeebles.com. Again, Robert, thank you so much. You've been awesome, and we're grateful to have you.
So glad to be here, Mark. Thank you.